Hi everyone, I'd like to give you a presentation on the hazards from lithium batteries in hybrid and electric vehicles and the hazards posed by them. You'll have to excuse me, there might be background noises because I'm filming this during lockdown for coronavirus and there's background noise, kids, dishwashers going and everything. Okay. Now, a bit of background about myself. Not trying to blow my own trumpet, just so that you realise that I know what I'm talking about. So my name's Tim Deegan. Served 27 years frontline fire service and still serving. 5 years as Fire Brigade Union Health and Safety representative. I'm currently acting up as Regional Health and Safety rep. I've done MVQ level 5 in occupational safety and health. I'm a graduate member of IOSH, a member of the International Institute of Risk and Safety Management, and an associate member of the Institute of Fire Engineers. I also work for a company called MSS doing production, event and motorsport health and safety, which where we do safety support on TV shows, online content, events and feature films. And as well as that, I'm also a senior accident investigator. So the aims, to increase awareness of the hazard involved with hybrid and electric vehicles, to teach to recognise an electric or hybrid vehicle, which isn't always easy as you may think, and to identify damage that may intensify or create new hazards. Now, the introduction, the first known practical electric car was built in 1837. I'm sorry, this is the boring bit, going through the history, but it just gives you a background. By 1900, 38% of vehicles registered in the USA were electric. By 1920s, due to petrol being cheap and widely available, internal combustion engines took over and electric vehicles became less popular. For most of the 20th century, the majority of electric vehicles in the UK were milk floats. In the mid-1960s, a few battery electric concept cars appeared, but they never really got beyond being concept cars. In 1971, a battery-powered electric car drove on the moon, and it's still there. The energy crisis of the 1970s and 80s then renewed the interest in electric vehicles. So we got a little bit more interest from governments again because of the shortage in fuel, high fuel prices. In the early 1980s, various government agencies pushed for more fuel-efficient and lower-emission vehicles. And this is basically when the government started to get more environmentally friendly, started being more aware of pollution, and they realised that the fossil fuel resources were running out. Then manufacturers started to produce electric versions, but they were only available on lease. Now, what they did was they took them back at the end of the lease and destroyed them. So there's actually none of them left. They do say there's not even any in museums. I'm sure there's one or two somewhere that didn't go back, but if you find one, it'll be worth a fortune. Then cheap fuel prices again in the US slowed development of electric vehicles. Then in 2004, Tesla began development of the Roadster, which was based on the Lotus Elise, and it went like a rocket and then ran out of fuel. Or power, sorry, not fuel. Around the same time, Toyota produced the Prius hybrid car, which had lead-acid batteries at the time, which was charged by a small internal combustion engine. The Roadster went into production by 2008 and was the first road-legal lithium-ion battery-powered vehicle. Now, and there's a picture of it, as you can see, very much like the Lotus Elise, which because it was lightweight, composite body, aluminium chassis, ideal. And then there was the Prius, probably the ugliest car in the world. Then, in 2008, a major manufacturer produced its first electric vehicle using lithium-ion batteries. That's a fully electric vehicle. Since then, most major manufacturers have produced their own electric vehicles or hybrid electric vehicles. And in fact, these days, most models of car on the road, there is a hybrid or electric version of it available. And then more recently, many hypercar manufacturers start producing hybrid versions. Now, the problem with the hypercar manufacturers, it's more likely that they've done it for more power rather than environmental reasons, because the incredible torque that you can get from electric motors. Now, identifying these electric and hybrid vehicles isn't that easy, as I said earlier. Originally, they said that what they were going to do was put a letter after the model number, as you can see, and then one more or less in the middle where it's got the small e at the end of it for electric. Well, and the same, so that one's actually a Mercedes, and they put D for diesel, and they put H for hybrid. But it seems that they're the only people that actually stuck to that, as you can see from all the others. They all go down their own route. I mean, Tesla, don't put anything about it because all Teslas are electric, easy to identify. Then more recently, with fully electric vehicles, they've started putting these neon blue badges on them. So it is making it a little bit easier. But if a car's been in a fire or an accident, you still might not be able to see the badge. So then, as I said, the hypercars. Now, both of these two are hybrid. And neither of them have any badges on them telling them that they're hybrids. And what these tend to be is an electric motor, an internal combustion engine motor, generating electricity to provide power to electric motors on the wheels, which, as I said, provides immense amounts of torque. And then there's also this one, the LaFerrari. Yet again, no badges on this one telling you that it's hybrid. The only giveaway is on the picture on the left, towards the top of that glass panel, you can just about see orange cables. And then if you look on the picture on the right, down at the bottom, there's an isolator. Now, I asked the owner of this car, how do you open that panel? He said, only Ferrari open that. I said, well, what if it catches fire? And he said, well, it burns. You can probably afford another one. More recently, there's been more pushes for like emergency vehicles being electric. Now, as ambulances are on the road pretty much all day, every day, I don't know when you charge them. Hybrid possibly work, but fully electric, they'd have to double the size of the fleet to keep them charged up. And then electric fire engine. Yes, extremely expensive. They call it electric, but technically it's a hybrid, because fire engines can be at a fire, pumping for hours on end. If it ran out of power, it wouldn't be able to get back. And of course, couldn't put water on the fire. So it's actually got a diesel backup generator, which then, as I say, makes it a hybrid. Police cars. So 1 in 5 police cars to be pure electric. Now, local Panda cars doing the normal beats, yes, that might work. But when it comes to traffic police doing high-speed chases, not very practical to pull into a garage and plug in for an hour in the middle of a chase. As they found out in America with a Tesla police car, ran out of fuel, ran out of power during a chase. Right, now I want to make it clear, I'm not criticising any emergency service, any fire service in the UK. We don't have the same facilities we have in America. They have in America, so to carry out the research. So our fire services get their information from National Operational Guidance, and without the large funds for research to find out the information, we're actually quite a way behind what they are in the United States. But what I did is I put out some requests for information from all of the fire services in the UK, and I found that some of their procedures were better than others. None of them were adequate, but I'm not picking on any of them, and I'm not criticising any of them. My aim is to improve awareness and try and move forward. Okay, so this is just an example. So just take snippets out of this. We've got always assume the vehicle is powered up despite no engine noise, and always use wheel chocks. Now, many electric vehicles produce very high torque, so the current chocks that fire services use, which are just wedge shaped, will probably be ineffective. The amount of torque they've got, they'll just drive straight over them. What they need is the large curve type chocks. They may not even be effective, but they're probably going to be a lot better than what we've got at the moment. And of course, some electric vehicles have what they call a creep mode. Now, this is a bit like when you put an automatic car in drive and it will creep forward. And some have a summons mode as well now, where if you have a smartphone on the app, you tell the car to come to you and it drives to you. So, frightening, I think, but there you go. It says, put vehicle in park, turn ignition off and remove key to disable the propulsion system. The batteries and high voltage cable will remain live. Right. Keyless ignition can become an issue. First of all, you may need the power to engage park because of electronic handbrakes. Right. But then with keyless ignition, you need to remove the keys, and Tesla say move it 5 meters away. I'd say move it 10. Put it in a Faraday pouch, whatever. Just, yeah. I've seen procedures that say 2 meters, which if Tesla are saying 5 meters, not enough. So play it on the safe side. Now see crash data. This is for fire service. You see crash data for isolation of high voltage system. Now, what you've got to remember is that isolating the high voltage system does not isolate the battery. Okay. Now, any vehicles involved in a fire, if there's been a short between the high voltage system or the batteries and the body, the whole vehicle can become live. Now, they're all run on high voltage. Well, not what's technically called high voltage, but enough to kill you. Tesla's 400 volts. There's a Porsche out there that's 800 volts. Enough to give you a bad day. Right, never touch, cut or open any orange cable or components protected by orange shields. Now, as I showed you in the LaFerrari, they had that bright orange cable. Some have that. There's one manufacturer for a while who were doing orange and blue striped cables, but it's going to be high visibility colouring. However, the junction boxes, components, things like that may not be. They may be black plastic, they may be aluminium. So look at where the cables are going. Right, do not cut into the drive battery. This is a huge no-no. You don't want to damage it whatsoever. Drive batteries, there's cars being developed with up to 900 volts DC at the moment. And if it's an electric only vehicle, not a hybrid, the drive battery is usually, it does vary, but usually takes up the whole of the floor area between the four wheels. So do not, whatever you do, cut or puncture this area. Only lift using specified jacking points. and don't damage the floor of the vehicle in any way. And damaged battery cells can result in the whole vehicle becoming live, as I said earlier, if there's a short to the body, leak of toxic electrolytes, and spontaneously combust, which is sometimes delayed, which can lead to thermal runaway. A thermal runaway is when one battery cell gets shorted out, catches fire, heats the next one up, the next cell to it, that catches fire, and you get a chain reaction. Once that's started, you're not putting it out. Now, remain a safe distance from the vehicle if it's on fire. Well, they've, as well as the toxic electrolytes, there's the batteries can explode. Jaguar Land Rover recommend 50 metre exclusion zone due to the explosion risk. Exposed to the electrolyte vapours can cause respiratory irritation. The lithium nickel oxide compounds in the batteries are carcinogenic. And the electrolyte is actually hydrofluoric acid, which is very, very highly corrosive. Mixed with water, so if you've got a car on fire mixed with water, it produces hydrogen fluoride gas, which is highly toxic. And one of the byproducts of the chemical process is oxygen. So that means once ignition occurs, the fire is self-sustaining, it feeds itself with oxygen, which is why the temperatures can keep going up and up and up. They burn at up to 35,000 degrees centigrade. If the deactivation electrical system is required, information may be available on the deactivation time for crash data and MDTs. Okay. Even using this crash data, it can take a while. Deactivating the high voltage system, as I said, does not de-energize the drive battery. Okay, it will isolate just the actual high voltage system, the cables, the motors, everything, but the drive battery will remain charged. It can be complicated and time consuming, even with the information available. Methods can vary from year to year, even with the same model, which I'll go on to a bit later. Specialist tools may be required to access isolation points. Electrical gloves may be required for isolation of some vehicles. Also, as I've said earlier, the whole vehicle will become live, so you should be wearing electrical gloves anyway, electrical protection. Now, if the vehicle is on fire, it says use class A, B, C powder type extinguisher to contain some of the flames. If water is used, large quantities are required. So when they're involved in a fire, as I said, the whole vehicle should be regarded as live. Tesla state it can take up to 3,000 gallons, over 11,000 litres of water applied directly to the battery to fully extinguish it. Now, when you've got to remember, the battery is underneath the car, so getting 3,000 gallons of water onto the battery is going to be a challenge in itself. Burns up to 35,000 degrees Celsius, and it's almost impossible to extinguish when in a vehicle because of where the battery is, and burn at 35,000 degrees. It's pretty much, even when you think you've put the fire out, it can reignite, which I'll go on to later. Trying to extinguish it will just slow things down. If it's safe to do so, the best method is to let it burn, and it'll burn for up to 12 hours and protect surrounding areas. If you've got underground car park, multi-storey car parks, then the best option is to set monitors up and protect the building. Let the car burn, otherwise you're going to be there for days. Protect the building, don't put the water on the fire, You can burn for up to 12 hours, but at least you've saved the building. Degradation can be delayed by hours or days, so you can get a short within a battery, a fault within a battery, and nothing happens for hours or days, which could lead to us going to fires at recovery yards, where a vehicle's been recovered, gone back to a recovery yard, and then caught fire. Right, the actual batteries themselves, they come in various shapes and sizes. They're all basically the same. They've got an anode layer, a cathode layer, and a microthin membrane that separates the two. So you've got this type, which is very similar to like AA batteries, a little bit longer. You've got this type, the button batteries, which are, if any of you have seen the videos on YouTube, where they put in a piece of meat and it basically burns the meat. This was to demonstrate what it does to children's stomachs when they swallow them. They just basically, they short it out, in the moisture in the stomach shorts it out, they heat up and explode inside them and can kill them. You've got the, this type is the type they use in mobile phones, laptops, things like that, where it's flat layers. And then you've got this type. This could have lots of flat layers. It could have a lot of the cell type batteries. It's, yeah, they vary, but they're all basically the same. Now, this is how, as you can see, Tesla package their batteries. So lots of little, the AA cell type batteries, all packed in units, and multiple units go in under the floor of the vehicle. This is a Formula E battery pack, which has got cooling systems, got intermittent paint, it's crash proof, it's got all sorts of safety devices involved. We're not going to get that on domestic cars because of the cost of it. And then this is how they put the batteries in the car on, using Tesla as an example again, but it's the same with many of them. So the whole of the area between the four wheels has got these battery packs on the left inside it. So it's got thousands and thousands of these individual cells. Now, if any of you have had a phone that started to bulge or anything like that, it's getting a bit old or got a bit of damp, this is what's happening inside. This is a faulty lithium battery. Your phone starts to swell, it's got a fault and could catch fire and could end up like this. Now, here's a demonstration. This is the same type of battery that's in a mobile phone. This is one cell, remember. So it puts the point of the knife in and shorts the two layers. And this is the reaction. Now that's just one cell. So you imagine what thousands of those in a car can do. Now this video is produced by Tesla, and it's basically there to demonstrate the cut loop and the safety systems that they've put in place and how they deal with it. I won't show you the whole thing because it goes on a bit. You can see how intense the flames are at the front. That gives you an indication that it is the actual lithium battery packs on fire. Good job it's not in the tunnel that you can see over to the left, because it would cause problems. Tesla do say that if you've got a battery pack that's in a garage, so it's not in a car, you can use CAFs and put it in through the vent of the battery. Not all fire services have CAFs, I know that, but it looks like that's what they're using there. The problem that they've got here is there's a cut loop for isolating the high voltage system, and it is just a loop of wire. and you cut through both sides of the loop so that the wires don't reconnect. But the actual main cut loop is in the front right hand side under the bulkhead, just near where he stood in the corner there. So they obviously can't get to that one. So what he's looking at is a secondary cut loop, and he's going to cut a hole in the doorstop to actually access that, so they can use that one instead. Now, I'll go into it a bit later and actually talk a bit more about the cut loops. Now, as I said, if the vehicles get damaged in any way if batteries get impact, fire damage, anything else like that, and when they're charging is when they're most vulnerable. Now, as you can see here, there's numerous electric car charging points in a multi-storey car park. What we wouldn't want is a whole row of those to go up in a car park full of them. This is a Tesla that has caught fire while it's charging. This is a smart car that caught fire while it's charging. You can see what's left of the charging point on the wall on the right. And then this is a multi-storey car park. This wasn't started by an electric vehicle, it was started by a 16-year-old car. But you imagine if that car park had been full of cars that would burn at up to 35,000 degrees. It would have been a pile of dust. So going on to the cut loops again. Right, this is from crash data, for those of you who don't know it. And most manufacturers produce this information for safety systems on their car. Now this is a Tesla Model S with the front of the vehicle on the right. And you can see with the red square, it shows where the cut loop normally is. Okay, and then on this one, it shows you the secondary cut loop, and in the doorstop where they were with the angle grinder. Now, like I say, this is the 2014 Model S. This one is shown the other way around for some reason, with the front of the car being on the left, is a 2016 Model S. But you'll see it's got the cut loop on the front, but it doesn't have the cut loop on the back of it anymore. So this is what I was saying, different years can give you different layouts of safety systems. Now, as I was saying, vehicles can reignite, and this is an example of this.
Flames not once, but twice. The owner recorded this video moments after his car was towed to a repair lot. Firefighters waited for the battery to cool, but then the car caught fire again. The owner did not want to be identified, but says he will not buy another Tesla.
If this guy had been in the house, and we were on vacation, and this thing caught fire in the garage, the whole house could go on.
It was noticed that the vehicle was off-gassing, which is an indication that there's heat or a lot of energy built up in the battery still.
Now, Tesla says for its part, it is investigating the claims and interviewing first responders. Go up in flames, not...
Right, there's a different version of that video, a different news report for the same incident, and it actually shows, the video at the start was the original fire. Fire service were called to that, and they cooled it for 5 to 6 hours until Tesla said it's now safe. So they towed it to a recovery yard, and then it caught fire again at the recovery yard, and they had to cool it. They jacked the side of it up with the forklift, put blocks of wood underneath it, put some monitors up, and cooled it for several more hours. And like I say, you would expect after 5 or 6 hours of putting water on a car, it's going to be out. But this is the problems that you have. Now, this next one, this was unfortunately a fatal crash where the car burst into flames after the crash, and you'll hear lots of explosions going off, and this is the batteries exploding. Now, what can happen, which will actually help first responders, is the battery packs can blow themselves apart and stop the chain reaction. But if you listen to this video, you'll see what I mean. All right. Yeah, as I say, there's, you know, the difficulty the fire brigade had there was they're trying to tackle the fire. A very intense fire, explosion, batteries exploding, firing left, right, and centre like bullets, while they've got 2 people trapped in the car. Anyway, just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, we've got vehicle stability. Now, the battery is extremely heavy, heaviest part of the car, and mounted normally within the floor of the vehicle. Now, with an internal combustion engine car, if you get a car on its side, it will often stay on its side. If you find an electric vehicle on its side, it could be one small branch that's stopping itself righting. So you know, take extra care in any vehicle that isn't on all 4 wheels that's an electric vehicle. And this is where you normally ask questions, but unfortunately you can't because this is recorded. So thank you for listening.